So, aha moment. I think I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping through the night, and I think I may have figured out why, and it doesn't have to do with the treatment or the cancer itself. I think I did it to myself, and I think it was because a while back I decided to either eat very light or skip dinner entirely or no solid foods after 2 p.m. And I think what's happening is that after a lifetime, like, I don't know, 20 plus years of not really eating breakfast, it's really just messing up the clock for digestion for me. Because when I didn't eat breakfast, I would wake up in the morning and, have all my bowel movements in the morning. And now that I'm not eating dinner, it's happening all at night. So it might sound kind of like duh, but I think it's just something I overlooked. I had been focusing on, digestion and trying to get to sleep and stay to sleep. And I think the real answer to the problem is really just shifting my eating times back to normal times. Because I've been waking up at like 3 a.m. just starving. So I think what I'm going to do is no food, or try not to eat after 6 p.m. and try to eat after 6 a.m. And then that way, it's kind of like a more normal eating window. And hopefully that will, get my digestion back in order and help me get to longer sleep intervals at night. But yeah, it seems like something simple I probably shouldn't have overlooked. But I think that this is likely what's happening now. Because even when I talk to the doctor's like, that's really weird. So I think it's just really, the human body is such a fine-tuned machine that after you've been doing something for so long and you switch it up, it's just adapting. And that's just potentially what's happening in this case. So we'll keep you posted on that. On to my health. So the MRI results, generally positive. So I talked to my oncologist yesterday, and basically what he told me is that there's no signs of additional neuroendocrine tumors or spreading or new lesions of any kind. However, there are signs of necrosis, and necrosis is basically the tumors dying, which feeds into the narrative of the reduced uptake of the radiation. Because the tumors are dying, less radiation is being absorbed into my liver and pancreas. So it's good news. It's basically saying that the treatment is working. Now, the challenge that I'm still facing is that the liver is still enlarged. With neuroendocrine tumors, they behave slightly differently, so that it takes longer for some reason for them to start shrinking. And it's around the third or fourth treatment where they begin to shrink. And having necrosis and not shrinking for a period of time is actually normal. But for me, my liver is actually getting slightly larger. So what they're going to do is have a tumor board, which is where all the oncologists in the hospital meet to discuss the case to decide on next steps, which may be switching to another modality of treatment that can help shrink the tumors faster in order to improve my quality of life, or potentially if my body starts reacting to it on its own, basically we go into a controlled period, which is similar to remission in other types of cancer. Now, it doesn't mean that it's cured or anything like that because the tumors will still be there. It's just controlled. And basically, the controlled period is predicted to be 2 to 4 plus years. In which case, during that period of time, I wouldn't require additional treatment other than the somatostatin analog shots to make sure that the tumors are not progressing or that they're controlled, and regular monitoring to make sure that if there is progression, we take action quickly. But the good news is that the targeted therapy still works. The problem is inflammation in my liver, not that the therapy stopped working. So in the event that it did become active again, they call it salvage therapy, where we would rerun the same protocol again and potentially extend longer. And, we also don't know what other new technologies or modalities of treatment might come up in the future in terms of immunotherapies or any new cutting edge ablation technologies or, surgical operations that can potentially take me down a curative route. Because right now it's all palliative because there's no cure for it. And, but we do have options in terms of treatment, which is something good about neuroendocrine tumors in general. But yeah, so the MRI came out generally good, positive news. And the biggest problem now is really just the size of the liver because it's really impacting quality of life. In terms of next steps, they will have the tumor board probably sometime next Wednesday. And then where they will decide or we will decide in terms of what the next steps will be in terms of treatment. And then the January final PRRT targeted therapy will likely still happen just to finish off the course. But beyond that, we'll have more clarity into what the next steps will be in terms of treatment. So yeah, aha moment and, some good news. So still fighting hard every day. Thank you very much for all the comments and words of encouragement. We'll talk to you later. Bye.